a conversation with a very hot and topical topic, and that topic has to do with dues. As you know, coming out of COVID, dues has been a big moot topic. We've heard Lions International have increased the dues commencing this year, and over the next 3 years, dues will continue to be increased. Where does that leave us in the district? Do we also have to increase our dues? Have we increased our dues recently? These are some of the questions that burns the council as we try to keep this district together. So we have a well-talented performer coming up to bat this afternoon, and that is none other than past council chairperson, Len Denise Bentic. As all of you should know and probably will recall, Len Bentic hails from Guyana, and she is the past district governor of District 60A. She's currently serving as a member on the membership orientation team in 60A, as well as the GLT Associate District for 60A. Len Denise is well versed in this topic to talk us about dues and dues increase, because she also sits in the committee for dues and discussions on the council. Len Denise is well known and well recognized across the international frontier. She has been Len of the Year many times. She's received recipient of the International President's Award for Zone Chairpersons and appreciation certificates, as well as Medal of Award in 2020, 21, and 2021, 2022. Len Denise has conducted several trainings and is currently a member of the LSIP, if I remember correctly. And she's going to take us safely through this journey of dues. Do we need to increase? Is the time come? Len Denise, can you take the bat for me?
Thank you very much, District Governor Dr. Carlisle. Could I share my screen now, Wendy?
Sure, Len Denise.
Okay. So thank you again for that brief introduction. I like the brevity. So my topic today is, as you would have heard, a somewhat contentious issue, but it's not a complex one, I believe. Nevertheless, we have to address it. Many members ask, why should they pay dues in order to serve or volunteer? However, the reality is that we are all members of a membership organization. And what goes with the membership organization? Dues, because there's administration to be done. It is you who would have expressed an interest in being a member, and you're part of an organization which is very large, and one whose reach is very global, and therefore it's logical that, that you would be required to pay dues to support the massive administrative work which is done at various levels, at international, at the multi-constitutional area, the multiple district level, the district level, and of course at your club level. Membership dues, as we all know, keep the lights on in many organizations because they provided the funds to cover operating costs and run some programs for the benefit of the members, organize events, and give members an exceptional membership experience. So, as you would have noted, I'm speaking about the proposed dues increase for multiple District 60. Now, why is the multiple district dues increase being proposed? In recent years, it has become clear that our current dues cannot, and it does not in some instances, some years. It's not sufficient to meet our rising costs and operating expenses. In particular, in this fiscal year, although a balanced budget was presented by council, it was based, or it is based, on the assumption that all the proposed income streams will materialize. And one of those income streams is the hosting of a raffle among ourselves, because you know we can't raise funds for administration from members of the public. So it's a raffle which will be among the 3,000 plus members in our multiple district members and their family. Right? If that does not materialize, well then certainly our council would be in a deficit based on the activities that are planned and some of the statutory requirements that we have to undertake, right? If not, then we have to dip into the reserves, the meager reserves which we have at this point in time. So the Finance Committee and the Council of Governors really undertook an extensive review of where we are and the financials and what would be occurring in the next few years, where conventions will be held and so on, international conventions will be held, and our commitments as a multiple district. And even though in this year we have reduced some of the line items, the funds being made available for some of the line items, we have reduced the budget significantly. There is still a need for funds, and this is why we had to include the raffle as one of the income streams for this year. Now, as a team, we felt that we could not sit and allow another year to pass without taking a step to deal with this whole issue of dues. And this is why we are proposing dues increase. Because remember, we have to vote on this at a convention, the multiple district convention, and therefore we need to take steps now if it's to be implemented in the next fiscal year. All right. So when were dues last increased? Well, I was very surprised to hear this because I joined Lions in 2007, but I know there wasn't any increase during that period. So it was some 30 years ago. Even though we know that there's been annual inflation, you know, costs have been increasing around the world and certainly in our multiple districts and districts, our countries and so on. 30 years ago, could you imagine? 30 years ago, dues, the last time our multiple district increased the dues. And we also noted that there has been a reluctance to increase dues over the years, a contentious issue. And certainly you heard your DG responded, mentioned that, right? But we also know that, you know, a dollar is a dollar in each country. And we don't want to anyway minimize the value of each dollar that the member has to contribute. So we haven't taken this lightly. What we are proposing, we have taken into consideration everything that is occurring and also the fact that even international has increased their dues. So the proposed multiple district dues increases as follows. You know, we propose to make an adjustment of $4, add an additional $4 US per member spread over 3 years. All right. So if approved at our convention in Antigua, we expect members to pay an additional or $1.50 effective from July 1 another $1.50 increase from July 1, 2025. And then lastly, I shouldn't say lastly, because you normally have to review things, but $1 increase in July 1, 2026. We don't know what will occur in other years to come, but over a 3-year period, we're proposing this increase, which makes it $4 in total to be added to the current $4 that is paid by the members through the dues paid eventually to the district and then to the multiple district. So that's the proposal. And if we could look at it in more detail, the current rate, sorry, I made a mistake there, but the current rate in 2023-2024 is $4, and we expect the new rate from the 1st of July 2024 to be $5.50. So $1.50 is being added to the 4. Then in 2025, 1st of July, it will be $7, another $1.50 added. And then lastly, from July 1, 2026, it will be $8. And just to note, of the current dues being paid at the multiple district level, 50 cents goes back to the members in the form of a subvention at our multiple district convention. So at each multiple convention, an amount of 50 cents is paid over for each member in the multiple district for use in the execution of the convention, the multiple convention. And the plan is to increase that to $1 from 1st of July 2026. So instead of 50 cents being taken from the dues which you pay, it will be $1 which will go back into the execution or implementation of the multiple district convention. And the difference of $7 is what will be the amount used for the administration and operation of the council secretariat and other things, which we will look at now. So what are MD dues currently used for? With the support of international, because in some instances we get grants to execute training, but it's not in all instances the costs are covered fully. So monies come from the dues to cover that, the amounts paid as dues. So currently the dues are used for hosting and facilitating training events, webinars, because you also have to facilitate the log-on of more than a certain number of persons, and for that an extra fee has to be paid. Maintaining of our websites, participation in international convention and meetings. We have a council chair, we have our council secretary, and certainly they are not assuming those positions to just sit and just deal with issues at the local level. In order for us to grow as an organization and be known and be exposed to other constitutional areas and other lines around the world. We are a global organization. We have to facilitate their attendance and participation in meetings such as these, like the International Convention, Lions, USA, Canada Leadership Forum, etc. So it's for technology, marketing, PR, advertising, leadership support, as I said, and support to international nominees. You would recall that we voted at the last, was it at the last convention, we voted for the nomination of past Council Chair Line Nadine to be an international director. And we do need to provide support. The constitution, international constitution, or the constitution for districts, LCI says that you could make allowances to make a contribution to their campaign and so on. So how will the funds be used if the increase in dues is approved? Certainly it will be used for all that I highlighted before, but there are other things. Some time ago, we at the multiple district decided that we should have more collaboration with District 63. Remember, we had twinned at the multiple district level with District 63. So we decided that, but certainly we did not take a deeper look about the costs involved in participating in their conventions, their youth programs that they host now and again, and other activities, because they do come to ours. And it requires funding for the council chair or her designate to attend those activities. I know there have been years past when some council chairs could not attend because there wasn't sufficient funds available, or some council chairs attended, but they had to dig into their own pockets. But it's not always you could find those funds to be able to do so. And if we are saying that there should be more collaboration, well, certainly we have to be prepared to contribute to those costs or cover it in some instance to allow our leaders to participate fully. I mentioned this earlier about, the continued sponsorship of participants. In this case, it would be the council chair and the council secretary, regardless of the location, to attend international convention. Now, when the convention is being held in North America, whether it's the USA or Canada, our costs are less. But when you go out of that continent and you go to Asia or Africa or Australia, the cost is huge, as it is this year. And this is why this year the budget was a challenge, and it still remains a challenge, as I said, because if we don't execute certain proposed income generating activities, well, then we will have a problem and have to dig into the reserves. But certainly when it's held in those far-flung areas, locations, the cost for travel is more, hotel is more. And as a matter of fact, we know since COVID or even during COVID, costs have really gone up for travel, for hotel accommodation, and even for the services. The other things like meals and so on. I know we have a fixed per diem for those things like your meals and accommodation. So whoever is our attendee, council chair, or whether it's the vice district governor, if the council chair cannot attend, not vice district governor, vice chairman, vice council chair, if the council chair cannot attend, certainly still has to go in their pocket. But when it comes to the airfare and so on, you would make sure you want to cover that. And that's the issue this year. We have the airfare is $4,000, just under $4,000, about $399. So we rounded to $4,000 for one person to get to Australia. We haven't spoken about the accommodation yet, for which there's a fixed contribution that we make. So it's not a case where our leaders do not go into their pocket. They have always been going into their pocket, but it's getting too heavy, one. And also we have made a decision to be seen we have changed from one constitutional area to another, and it presents so many opportunities for us to be seen and be able to participate at different levels. And it has paid off because, you know, we have seen our LEOs and our Lions are getting on boards and advisory panels, etc. So it's not a wasted effort, and we should be willing to contribute, continue contributing to that process by recognizing that costs are not the same as they were before, and we need to beef up. Right? Sponsoring persons to participate in the USA-Canada Lions Leadership Conference. Certainly, we were nominating the candidate who is going up for international director had to make a debut or presentation at the USA-Canada Lions Leadership Forum. That's where it's normally done. And certainly you would want to ensure that she had the support or seen to have the support from the highest level in our multiple district, which is our council chair, when she would have joined there to make that presentation. And we don't know who else will be going up in the future, so we don't want to wait. We have to plan now. I know council chair had to dip into her pockets to cover some of the costs because of the budget this year, right? And we have other costs. Now, mid-year conference is being held online. A lot of training is being held online. So as Lions and Leos, we do not always have to journey to another country, you know, or far-flung area to participate in a workshop, seminar, to benefit from training and so on. However, the council now, the district now has to cover some new costs. And that is the cost of streaming and, you know, everything that goes with it. I know there was a big uproar when in 1 year, persons had to pay for an online conference or convention. When past council chair, like Denise Forrest was council chairperson, but really and truly, it was necessary. We haven't asked that in subsequent years, but it meant that persons had to go in their pockets. I know that because I went through it. Persons had to go in their pockets for different things to be able to cover those associated costs. So if we elect leaders, we have to make sure that we are ready to support them in light of the current situation. Continue to support them, I should say. Continue to support them. And it therefore means we have to increase our contributions to make sure that they're able to attend and represent us at different activities. Yes. So will the increase change your club dues, your local club dues? Whilst this is, I would say, or we say that it's sort of independent of your club membership dues, we are saying that because we know all the clubs, if you were to convert your dues into US dollars, all the clubs do not have the same membership dues. There are some clubs that have a buffer. Even when the international dues were increased, some clubs did not have to increase their dues because there was that buffer, right? Some clubs have made the decision that they will increase their dues probably in the next fiscal year and not in this year when international dues were increased. Likewise, with the multiple district dues, certainly we don't know the effect it will have on the individual and what are the other administrative expenses that are covered by membership dues. So this is why we're saying independent in the sense that you will make a decision as to whether you have to increase your individual membership dues at the same time this, we hope, is increased, or whether you have sufficient buffer to deal with it. And that is why we're saying it's independent, in the sense, not that because we increase it by X amount, you have to go immediately. You also need to do your analysis at club level to see what could occur. But certainly we know it has to come from the members and not from the public. Now, I just want to remind you, and I think this is the last slide in terms of the presentation, of our obligation as it's enshrined in the Constitution, Article 7, Section 2. Right? The annual dues, each member of this club, whichever is your club, this is for the club constitution, shall pay the following indicated regular annual dues, which dues shall include an amount to cover current international and district, and in terms of district, single or sub-district, and multiple dues to defray various expenses. And it's supposed to be paid in advance at such times determined by your board of directors. And this is stated in each of our club's constitution, which Lions Clubs International has given us. So I just wanted to remind us that this is what we sign on to. This is what we sign on to. So I will want to end here by imploring you that you mandate your delegates that will be attending the multiple district convention in Antigua in May next year to vote resoundingly. 30 years ago, if you divide this increase that is proposed with effect from next year, if you divide $4 more by 30 years, it's 13 cents per year. If you divide the $1.50 by 30 years, it would have represented 5 cents. 5 cents. But certainly 30 years ago, we need to make a decision, a positive decision regarding the increase in dues. So I want to thank you all for listening. And District Governor Lion Carlisle, I'm open for any questions. If I can't answer them, well, I will get back to you with the response, but also I will invite you, or if past constituent Lion Denise Forrest is on, or Lion Isaac is on, they too could assist in the response. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Past Council Chairman Dennis Bendick. We thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. And I'm sure you struck a good chord as a salesman as to why we need the increase. But let's put back history in perspective. 30 years without an increase. Why now? Why now? And more so post-COVID. Persons, Lions have lost jobs. Lions are not coming out to meetings. Lions are agents or reduced income. So 30 down the years down the road, we know we need an increase. But why at this crucial time post-COVID? Because money's tight across the district. So how would you answer that? Because that's going to be a common question across the discussion. Coming out of COVID, there's lack of funds.
Yes, I hope others could contribute to this response. But as I said before, it's a membership organization. Costs have increased across the world, whether it's school fees, whether it's the groceries, whether it's transportation. And we are using those things to keep our multiple district running. We are using those very things to keep our district running. We have to buy in certain services, and the costs for those have gone up. And it's not a case where we could expect our leaders to continue to go into their pockets solely based on a rate that was established 30 years ago. Now you're asking why now? My understanding is that proposals were made before, but the districts, which is the sub-districts, did not vote and give their district governors the mandate to say, yes, this could, you know, we accept this and we will vote at multiple district conventions.
Thank you. Before I open
But
this-
I don't know if there's anybody else who logged on who wants to say anything else. So it's not only now, it did come up before as far as I was aware, but certainly I know it wasn't brought up in the last 5 years, if I recall. Mhm.
Lions and Leos, the floor is open for you to ask questions. And while Denise looks for her partners in crime to help us understand why we need to pay more money, I will ask one further question before I open to the floor. Denise, can you reiterate what the fees are used for? I think you had slide 3 or slide 4 showing this. You mind going over that with us again?
All right, I'll go back. It's frozen, but let me.
I think you need to close the share and then open again.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
it's
No,
going.
it's moving, it's moving.
Yes.
What it's currently used for, or what the additional?
Well, both. I think
Both,
for anyone who
okay,
joined
all right.
late.
Mhm. Okay. I think I noticed a question in the chat, and
Yes,
I
I'm going to
noticed
pull that up as soon
hands
as
up.
you
Yeah.
finish the next slide.
Mhm. Could I advance to
Yes.
the next?
Next slide, yes. Thank you very, very much. So there's a question in the chat here from Region 4, and that question goes, how does our dues compare with other MDs in Constitutional Area 1?
Certainly, that's a research I will have to do, but I've heard persons commented before that their dues were high, as much as $100 US and more $200 US. That's in the US. I know there are clubs in my country that are charging more than $100 US in terms of their club dues.
I see Leo Rakim have a question. Can the IT allow him to ask a question? Permit him audio? So while we're waiting for Leo Rakim Smith to come on.
Good evening.
He's on?
Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, District Governor. Good evening, fellow Lions and Leos of the multiple district. My name is Leo Raheem Smith from Grenada. So I know that when it comes to dues, in terms of paying to the multiple district, it would be the Lions Club. But in terms of the increase in dues, how does that look like for Leo clubs? Or are we impacted in any way?
No, I would say no, because the Leo Club is a project, and certainly the contribution which is made, or the funds which are paid to Lions Clubs International for Leo clubs is $100 US per year for the club, not $100 US for member. But I know Leo clubs also have administration to do, you know, administrative expenses and so on. So I know there are some Leo clubs that their members have to pay that But this is not associated with Leos to the district because currently Leo clubs are not paying dues to our district or multiple district. We don't know what will happen in the future in terms of other stuff, but the Leo Club is a project. So, you know, having a Leo Club is a project. So anything associated with the development of our youth in terms of the Leo Club is regarded as project expenses. So even that $100 which is paid to Lions Clubs International could come from the activity account, just like how we take contributions to LCIF from the activity account.
Thank you very much, Lion Denise. We have a question from past council chairs. First, Lion Claudio Boomkamper, followed by Lion Denise Forrest.
Good afternoon, District Governor and fellow Lions. My question is that here we are talking about a multiple district dues increase, which I support, but I think the real question is it's the district that pays the multiple district. So it would actually mean that on 60B perspective, the district needs to present if they're going to do a dues increase, yes or no, on district level. Because the Lions don't pay multiple district directly. It's District 60B that pays the present fee. So it would mean that 60B, and of course 60A also, but 60B would have to amend the constitution from 60B to say we're going to have a dues increase. And if there's going to be a dues increase on multiple levels, does that also mean that 60B might have also a dues increase for the expenses of 60B? So I really want to know what is the stance of cabinet on this, because I believe the first vote has to be, does the members of 60B agree to increase the dues of 60B? Or would this $50 come out of our present dues structure? That is my question to you, District Governor.
That's a fantastic question, Lion Claudio. And that's a question that the district is currently wrestling with. So we wanted, or we will probably do a survey amongst fellow members in the district first, because whereas we recognize that an increase in fee structure is due and well overdue, we know that in 60B, a lot of clubs are still struggling right now to pay the current rates. So if they're already struggling to pay the current rates, to expect them now to put an increase upon that is even going to be harder. So clubs will probably cease to exist at this rate, but the district needs to survive, or movement needs to survive. So dues need to be readjusted, but that would bring, and that's the purpose of this workshop, to sensitize Lions in 60B where we're at, what is expected, and work out the next step forward. So we will answer that further in our internal discussions. Can I ask Lion Denise Forrest to add to this debate?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Lion District Governor, my fellow Lions and Leos. Okay, when I put up my hand, I put it up for a thing, but I will just make a few points with your permission. One, there was a question that Lion Denise, I think, ably answered as to how our dues compare to multiple district. I mean, our constitutional area. But I think we know in Jamaica at any rate, I don't know about the rest of the Caribbean, but I would suspect that it would be so that when you look across the scheme of organization like ours, we don't want to call the names, but let me call them, for example, let's say Kiwanis, our dues are significantly lower than theirs, right? And so there has been a sense in a way that I think clubs have tried their best to contain the dues to the very minimum, but they cannot, of course, contain the dues. And then there's a question that was in the chat, Lion District Governor, as to why we can't go to the public to pay administrative fees. That is a no-no of the highest order. Our outreach to the public has to be to raise funds to serve. In other words, to raise funds to do projects that benefit the public. we cannot raise funds from the public to benefit our own existence. That is one of the tenets of our organization. We who have decided to serve have to, and have joined an organization to do so, have to cover our administrative fees. And I think that Lion Denise went through what they are in some detail at the multiple district level, and they're very similar at the club levels. And in some cases, in our clubs across the district, it may differ, but there are payments of maybe venues for meetings. There are payments related to membership development and membership welfare. And of course, there are payments related to the district itself. Now, in response to Lion Claudio's question, the last time we paid dues was in increased dues in District 60B was when I was the sitting district governor. And what really happened, Lions and Leos, was that we examined very carefully, the finance committee, our cost. And the 1 and 1 didn't quite make up to 2. Well, I shouldn't say not quite, it didn't. And the study that was done by the finance committee was shared with not only our zone and region chairman, but was shared at various cabinet meetings, so that our sub-district was aware of what the realities were. And so that when we came to vote and we put in the proposition, the resolution, I'm happy to say that the district, recognizing our situation, voted almost 100% for the increase because it was necessary. And I think the Lion leaders approach this thing with a great deal of thoughtfulness. It's not an easily taken decision, but the realities are that what has been happening over the years is that your leaders and others have had to be, they lead because they want to serve, but in many cases have had to move into their personal funds in order to meet the needs of the district. That's a decision that they have to make when there are no funds. That's a decision that I'm sure they make with no, because they want to serve. But I don't think that we can continue, or we wish to place that burden on people who in future may wish to lead. We really do have to find ways as a district to do this. And to tell you the honest truth, the inventiveness as we have applied, for instance, in the multiple district of a raffle to balance an administrative budget is really, really out of desperation. And if that raffle does not succeed, the multiple district, and by extension, since we're part of that multiple district, will be in debt. So I think clearly questions have to be answered as to what is our situation now in terms of covering cost. That study will no doubt be done by the appropriate members of the district governor's cabinet, and also what the implications would be given the proposed increases. But I think we need to be cognizant as we think about this and as we debate these issues, that the truth of the matter is the existence, and I'm not trying to be dramatic, I'm just laying it out as honestly as I can, that the existence of the multiple district rests on being financially sustainable. So it's an important decision, and one that as we look at the issues, we shouldn't take lightly. Thank you, Lion District Governor, for the opportunity to have made some comments.
Thank you very much, Lion Denise Forrest. And while I have both of you still on the forum, I mean, you've raised some very, very interesting questions. And still the question is begged by many Lions.
Mhm.
Are there alternatives? We know that an increase is needed, and we're looking to do a $4, is it 150, 150, and then $1. So yes, $4 increase over the next 3 years.
Yeah.
People are still reeling at this time saying, you know, there's not enough money circulating after COVID. Is there alternative? Can we say we increase by $1.50 for the next 2 years and then look at it again? Are these, would that make the financial position any better than it currently is? You've done the research. We in 60B lack this direction at this time. We need to know, we know an increase has to come, but is $4 at this particular time the amount that will hurt us too much? Because some members have said if it goes up any further, we will leave. We're already aging, we're already dying out. Where
Well,
are we?
well, the district faces the very, very painful discussion about its own sustainability. And that has some complex issues related to it, issues that we've been grappling with for a long time, which is, you know, what does our membership look like? Where do they come from? How do we grow? But, you know, District Governor, there are just some factors that we don't have any control over. Say, for instance, this activity that we're taking place right now, we're doing it on Zoom. And in fact, Zoom has allowed us to reduce costs to our members because they don't have to travel. In certain cases, they can just, you know, sit and still participate. But it has increased our administrative costs. And we don't control that cost. So while we have been able to, as a result of COVID, and in some cases, it has been a kind of blessing, a kind of silver bullet, because the fact that we can participate and we can communicate from where we are has added another dimension. So we're moving into that kind of situation, even as we still seek to strive to have face-to-face because of its importance to service and because of its importance to club strength, etc., etc. So we're grappling with those issues. But the truth of the matter is, DG, and I think you're aware of this, that let's look, for instance, even the matter of travel, which is a part of what we have to do. Look at those costs over the last. COVID might have had an impact, but we've also had issues of the Ukraine war, issues compounded now by the war in Gaza, of increased fuel costs and increased costs for travel, etc. Issues that no matter how much the district would like to cut and carve, and I think we've been doing that to a great degree. There's some costs that are outside of our control and some costs that simply have to be met for administration. Even if we look at the whole matter of international, we are part of a membership organization. Those costs have increased. And it's increased. And if you looked at their document related to why they had to increase costs, the justification was clear. It was painful, and the decision was to do it over a number of years. But it is because the intention is not to impose pain on our membership. The intention is that if we are to exist, and if we are to have the administrative framework, if we want to continue to serve, these are just some of the realities that we have to face. And I think the discussion, the dialogue to ensure that our members understand this is very important. I congratulate you, Lion District Governor, for bringing it to the fore. And I'm sure that once we begin to identify the actual figures and the case, in this particular case of District 60B, and what the scenario will be, our members will understand even more so. You did ask me a question, District Governor, and I'm going to stop talking and answer it. The truth of the matter is, we don't want to have to go back to convention. We go back to convention in 2024 and say, we've already looked at the projections. Remember, we are looking at a situation where over 30 years, and then Denise did it very eloquently. I don't need to add to what she said eloquently and clearly. It would mean that we go to convention in 2024 and we say 150. Then we go back in 2025 and we say another 150. And we go back in 2026 and say $1. When we already know, right? When we look at the projections and over time, that this is not some kind of spurious numbers, but in fact is going to be the reality. And I would ask you all to remember what Lion Denise said, that in the convention fee itself, this is not a matter that is covering the administrative cost, which relates to things like covering expenses for the council chair and covering our audits and covering our Zoom and all that. This is going back to supporting the conventions wherever they're held. And these conventions, of course, I think are very, very important to the life of our district and multiple district. So I think Lion Denise has her hand up, and I'll stop talking, but I hope I helped to clarify the issues a little bit more, Lion District Governor.
Thank you
Certainly.
very much, Council Chairperson, past Council Chairperson Lion Denise. Denise Forrest, Lion Denise Bentic now.
Yes, I noticed there was another question in the chat where someone said they noticed on a slide that we said we needed an additional $2. Let me just clarify that. And I think it slipped me not mentioning that. When we looked at this year's budget, that is what we needed from members this year. But of course, it wasn't voted on, $2 more. So this is why we had to come up with the projection, with the plan to host a raffle. So if that raffle does not materialize, we in trouble. So this year we needed an extra $2. And let me put it this way. You have 2 trips, 2 persons to travel to Australia, that's $8,000 US. If they were traveling to Canada or the US, we know you would have saved almost $6,000, let's say 5,500. So, and then we know coming down the line, we have international convention will be held in India. That's another massive, the budget that year will need a lot more funds. And this is why, as Landon said, we don't want to be going back every year. And what we don't want to find a year, we don't have the means of increasing, because we can't increase in this year for this year. So this is why we had to find something else to do. But we also know that members complain about raffle tickets being raffle tickets sales too. So it's not, we have to balance what we're doing.
Well, thank you very much for that very, very live discussion. I think we've gone past our 45-minute mark, but it was definitely a needed discussion within the district. To Lion Denise Bentic, we really, really thank you for your contribution this afternoon. Lion Denise Foster, we also thank you for bringing some clarity to the whole discussion. My fellow Lions and Leos who've contributed to the discussion, we thank you so very much for your participation. And we say to you, reflect now on dues. It is needed. You now have to decide on your own. Am I financially stable enough to make this commitment to our district for the purpose that we serve our less fortunate community? But to do so, we need an administration, and an administrative cost must be maintained to keep it going. So thank you very much for your participation. Thank you, panelists. My fellow Lions and Leos, we now go on to our second presentation, and that presentation will be done by our first Vice District Governor, Lion Allen. And this presentation is entitled Unraveling Leadership. Lion Allen has been in this trench now for over 27 years with the Antigua Lions Club. He's been in pivotal roles such as Council Secretary Treasurer, and in his own local club, he has served as you know, as president, as club secretary, and treasurer. He's also been honored as Lion of the Year, and I'm sure Lion Alan is no doubt, because of his professional role, is indeed equipped to give us this presentation. So Lion Alan, we welcome you and we ask you to lead us through this whole concept of leadership. Thank you.
CEOs, the district. Thank you very much for affording me the opportunity this afternoon to take over the shoes of Lion Sherwin, who was supposed to do the session on leadership. And unfortunately, he was unable to do so. And I had a presentation which I had shared with my club about a month ago. And I thought that it would be a good idea that I can share this presentation as well to the wider audience. We're basically looking at leadership, and I'm hoping that within the group here today, that there has been some understanding and there may be some instruction previously on leadership. So it's probably may come in at a bit of a higher level than just the basic leadership skills and techniques that is required. So I would urge those who have been tantalized by this presentation and need to learn more to look at the three models that I would be presenting this afternoon, and you can delve into that a bit more deeper. But basically what I'm trying here to do is to give the leadership within the district, and we are all leaders at some stages in our lives, whether we are captain of a football team, whether we are an office manager with a club president, a family, head of a family. At some time, we are all leaders. So this here should give you a little bit of insight of what it is, leadership qualities that you should have. And I'm more tailoring it to the leadership environment in today's world where there's so many things happening at any instant that requires responses, etc. So I'm hoping with this very, very short presentation to be able to give you that understanding. Can I share my screen now, please? So the topic this afternoon, I titled it Unraveling Leadership. And we're looking at we'll have a look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the VUCA and Bani leadership models. And I am your presenter, Lion Alan Alexander, your first Vice District Governor. So this presentation aims to provide an overview of the key concepts and subtle differences between the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the VUCA, which means volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, and the Bani, which is brittle, anxious, non-linear, and incomprehensible. These are three leadership models that I've used. So understanding these distinctions, I'm hoping will allow Lions Club leaders to adapt their leadership styles to various challenges and to better serve their communities. The leadership landscape has evolved over time with different models and theories emerging to guide leaders in navigating diverse situations. Among these models are the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the VUCA and the Bani, each offering a unique perspective of leadership. As Lions Club leaders, it is essential to understand the subtle differences between these models and to apply the most effective leadership style in various contexts. So basically, we're saying that in our environment, there's no one fixed way of doing or leadership skills or leadership models to use. You have to be able to understand the diversity of models so that you're better able to serve. So I'll just give you an overview and I'll break it down a little bit. so that you have a full understanding of what are the requirements of the different models and an examples of each of the levels, for instance, in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So the Abraham Maslow came up with this a number of years ago, and you would have noticed, or you would have used and seen it in a lot of the organizational skills and leadership training, that he's probably one of the most famous theorists regarding leadership. And he came up with the idea that called the hierarchy of needs is a psychological theory that categorizes the human needs into 5 levels. Basically, they are physiological, safety, love and belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. This model suggests that people are motivated to satisfy their lower level needs before moving on to the higher needs. So let me give you a few examples of these needs. The psychological needs are the most basic human requirements necessary for survival, such as food, water, air, and sleep. An example of this is an employee working long hours, or a lion at a function working very long hours without any breaks, may struggle to focus and perform well due to these unmet psychological needs like hunger, fatigue, or dehydration. On the safety needs pertain to an individual's desire for stability, security, and protection from potential harm or damage. An example of this, a lion working in a hazardous environment may prioritize ensuring that the proper safety protocols are in place and protective gear is provided to meet their safety needs. An example of this might be a beach cleanup where you have your gloves and your bags and your poles so that you're protecting. Love and belonging needs. Love and belonging needs involve the desire for meaningful social connections, friendships, and supportive relationships. A new lion may seek to establish rapport with fellow lions and join in the lion's events and activities to fulfill their need for social belonging and connection. And this probably is one of the things that was mentioned earlier, and the need for us to ensure that we have these multiple district conferences, that they are well catered for and paid up for, so that this need, the need for us to meet together, really enjoy the fellowship, and I know lots of lions who have had the opportunity to partake in this really do find that it means a lot when we go to these functions. I now move on to the esteem needs. It's a desire for recognition, respect, and appreciation from others, as well as a sense of self-worth and confidence. So an example, an experienced lion member may seek additional responsibilities or want to pursue additional leadership development opportunities to gain recognition from their peers and thus satisfying their esteem needs. Finally, under the Maslow hierarchy of needs, the self-actualization represents the pursuit of personal growth, self-discovery, and the realization of one's full potential. So a lion may choose to devote his time to mastering all the aspects of lionism and experiencing new outlets, new missions, new opportunities within the movement, driven by this desire for self-actualization and for personal fulfillment, such as becoming maybe district governor, or becoming a cabinet secretary, or a region chair, or a zone chair. So by understanding these simplified definitions and examples, we as leaders can better appreciate the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and we can use this model to address the diverse needs of our lion members and fostering a supportive and motivating environment. So what are the leadership implications of using the Maslow's hierarchy? Leaders should strive to understand and address the needs of their team members to create a supportive environment. And by fulfilling the lower level needs, safety, belonging, leaders can help team members feel more motivated to pursue higher level needs, such as personal growth and achievement. So this model basically focuses on individual development and motivation, making it more applicable to personal leadership styles and team dynamics. So we move on to the second model. The VUCA is an acronym that describes the 4 key characteristics of an increasing, complex, and unpredictable world. A world full of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And I'm quite aware that there may be a number of us, because when I first researched this, I've never heard of this before, even having gone to a number of leadership schools. That this here was developed way back in the 1980s by a team, 2 leadership scholars, Warren Bennis and Bert Nanos. And basically it was to describe the challenges of leading in a complex and rapidly changing world. So it was first applied by the US Army War College to help their officers characterize the turbulence they would face as they took on increasing strategic leadership positions. So this is basically comes out of the need to ensure that the leadership skills within the Army Air Corps had the capability, because nothing is more valuable than human life. So we had to make very key strategic decisions in order that human life can be saved. So we go through the definitions and then examples of volatility. It refers to the rapid and unpredictable nature of change in various aspects, such as geopolitical conditions, markets may change, and as you well know, we had a great shift in technology that has created a whole new social environment. So an example of volatility in today's world is where, for instance, oil prices might fluctuate, which then increases the prices of everything else. We had a great discussion on dues and why it is that things have to be paid for and why it's increased. So there's volatility within today's world post-COVID, which have decreased the supply chain in across numerous organizations, and it has increased costs. Uncertainty, which is the U, it describes the situations where there's a lack of clarity or predictability about future events, trends, or outcomes. The COVID-19 pandemic, for example, created significant uncertainty for businesses. Lions Club International did not even know it would probably survive post-COVID, as an example. So it was difficult to predict the long-term impact on the consumer behavior, the supply chains, and economic recovery. So as leaders, we must be adept at making decisions based on incomplete or changing information in a world full of uncertainty. Complexity refers to the intricate and interconnected nature of systems, organizations, or problems, making it difficult to understand and manage them. And an example of this, and I'm facing this right now in my area of work, is that the global supply chain is an example of complexity. It involves coordinating with multiple suppliers, distributors, and customers across various regions and time zones. So leaders in this context must be able to analyze and understand the various interdependencies and potential ripple effects of their decisions. Ambiguity. Ambiguity pertains to situations where there's a lack of clarity or multiple interpretations, making it challenging to determine the best course of action. So an example of this is a new business coming up or a new club offering a different or a disruptive product or service can create ambiguity for an established business or an established Lions Club. It may be very unclear how the customers or the public will respond and how the industry landscape or the volunteering landscape will change. So as leaders, we must be comfortable with making decisions in the face of such ambiguity and be prepared to adjust our strategies as new information emerges. So basically, understanding these very simple definitions and examples, leaders can better appreciate the VUCA leadership model and apply it effectively to navigate the complexities and uncertainties of our modern world. So what are the implications? It basically, as I reemphasize, the need for flexibility, adaptability, resilience in the face of change. Leaders must be skilled in managing change and making decisions based on incomplete or rapidly changing information. So what does it do? This model focuses basically on external factors and organizational preparedness, making it more applicable to strategic planning and crisis management. So we go on to the BANI leadership model. The BANI model is an extension of the VUCA model, but it brings us closer to the modern world, closer to today's world. So basically it highlights the brittle nature, the anxious nature, and the non-linear and incomprehensible nature of our modern world. The reason why this came about, it was developed to replace the VUCA because the VUCA was not sufficient enough to explain the new business models and the current challenges for organizations, companies, and society as a whole. So this was first introduced by James Cassio, an American anthropologist, futurist, and author. So the brittle, anxious, nonlinear, and incomprehensible are the four elements of the BANI leadership model. And we'll go into the explanations of each with an example. So brittle basically refers to systems or organizations that can easily break, falter, or collapse under pressure or sudden changes. So for example, a club with a very rigid hierarchy and inflexible policies may struggle to adapt to the new changes in society, making it brittle. Younger Lions, to attract younger Lions, we still hold on to very old, rigid policies, not being flexible enough, may not attract younger Lions into a movement. So, and when faced with, especially with a younger, more dynamic volunteer organization, we may not be able to respond quickly enough, and therefore we may not be able to have that membership growth that we are looking for, or the share, we can say, in the volunteer market. So, anxious describes a pervasive sense of unease or worry that individuals and organizations experience in the face of uncertainty or rapid change. So an example, and I took this from the business side, is a company going through a merger. The employees may feel anxious about job security and the future of their roles. This anxiety can lead to reduced productivity, poor decision-making, and an increased turnover. So this is something that we can look at in terms of our retention of our members, because I believe the turnover rate is about saying 50-50, 50 in, 50 out. Non-linear. Non-linear refers to situations where relationships between cause and effect is not straightforward, and small changes can lead to disproportionately large outcomes. For example, saying the wrong thing at the wrong time in social media may be one of those non-linear things. The cause and effect may have a huge impact if the wrong thing has been said. So, as an example, a single tweet or post can go viral and have a massive impact on the line's reputation. So this non-linear effect is difficult to predict and control, making it challenging for leaders to manage, an example, public relationships and our brand image. Incomprehensible. The definition of incomprehensible represents the difficulty in understanding or making sense of complex systems, situations, or data due to the sheer volume or interconnectedness. An example, the increasing amount of data generated every day is becoming challenging for leaders to identify trends and make informed decisions. The vast amount of information can be incomprehensible, requiring advanced analytical tools and expertise to make sense of it all. Hence, we are seeing in today's world, the evolution of the AI tools such as ChatGPT, the Bing models that you may see popping up on your screens. No, it's the way in which the amount of data for the ease of leaders can be then examined and analyzed for trends. So understanding this, we as leaders can be better prepared. So what are the implications? So the Bani leadership emphasizes the needs for leaders to be comfortable with uncertainty and to embrace diverse perspectives. Leaders must be able to navigate nonlinear systems and understand the interconnectedness of various elements within their organization and broader environment. And this model focuses on fostering innovation, collaboration, adaptability to thrive in a complex and unpredictable world. So, what are we going to do in having had the basic overview of these three models? The future of our organization, how do we adapt? I have 4 pictures here. Balance over brittleness is the way that we want to go. And this refers to a leader's ability to maintain equilibrium in various aspects of their work and their life. This includes balancing their personal and professional lives, balancing short-term and long-term goals, balancing the needs of various stakeholders. An example of applying balance: a CEO or president of a Lions Club who dedicates time to their family and hobbies while also leading the Lions organization to volunteering success or financial success if he's a CEO, maintaining a healthy work culture and being socially responsible. The capacity refers to the ability of an organization to respond effectively to changes in its environment. It's essential because the world is constantly changing and unpredictable. Organizations such as us must be able to adapt quickly to the new situations and respond effectively to new challenges. Resilience. It's our ability to recover from setbacks and to continue functioning effectively. It is important because as an organization, we will face challenges and setbacks, and resilient organizations are better able to weather these challenges and continue functioning effectively. Alertness over anxiousness. This is the ability to stay aware of one's surroundings anticipate potential problems, and respond quickly and appropriately to changing situations. An example, a fire chief who can quickly and accurately assess a burning building, coordinate the efforts of his team, and make split-second decisions that saves lives. Nimbleness, this refers to a Lions leader's ability to be agile, adaptive, and flexible in the face of uncertainty, complexity, and change. An example is a leader who can pivot quickly based on feedback from its members, rapidly go test new ideas, and adjust their strategy. The context refers to specific circumstances or conditions which something exists or occurs. It's important because it helps leaders to understand the unique challenges and opportunities they face. By understanding context, leaders can make informed decisions and take more effective actions. Adaptiveness refers to the organization's ability to changing circumstances and conditions. Adaptiveness is essential because the world is constantly changing and is unpredictable. Organizations must be able to adapt quickly to new situations and respond effectively to new challenges. Information over incomprehensible. This is the ability to gather, analyze, and apply relevant information to make informed decisions and solve problems. An example is a club that can collect data on its community, analyze the information to identify patterns, and to develop an effective response plan to contain and mitigate the issues of the community. This is why there's a community needs assessment done so that you have the information. So as the Lions Club, you're now able to apply the information and therefore come up with an informed plan and decision to solve the problem that you have identified. Transparency is not explicit in the banning world, but it helps to build, what it does, it helps to build trust between the stakeholders and to reduce uncertainty. In the Agrisys world, transparency can help to alleviate concerns and build confidence. In a nonlinear world, transparency can help identify patterns and facilitate better decision making. Transparency can also help people better understand complex issues. Intuition. Whilst intuition can assist, is an important aspect and can assist, intuition can help identify potential risks and opportunities. And in an anxious world, intuition can help identify underlying concerns and motivation. In a non-linear world, it can identify patterns and connections that may not be immediately apparent. So these are the methods in which we can adapt as leaders: balance over brittleness, alertness over anxiousness, and I think I neglected to speak about empathy and mindfulness. So as a leader, we have to understand, especially, and I'd like to use the example of the dues increase. As leaders, we have to be empathetic about our members' ability to pay the increased dues, and therefore we have to adapt our methodology in such a way that it comes across that we are concerned at the same time while understanding the need for us to move forward. So, fellow Lions, it's going to be very, very brief. So, understanding these differences between the Maslow hierarchy of needs, the Buchan and Bani leadership models, is critical for Lions Club leaders in determining the best approach to leadership depending on the context. So as I said earlier, I want to reaffirm that there's no one better way of doing things. What we have given you here is a toolbox in which you can apply in your various leadership situations so that you are better able to serve. So just in recognizing the Maslow's model is particularly useful in addressing individual motivation and development, while the Buchan and the Bani models are more applicable to navigating complex and predictable situations. An example of Lions Club International, they're moving on to a 1.5 million growth plan. They are pushing the LCI funding. The reason for this, the world is very unpredictable. Hurricanes, volcanoes, earthquakes, tropical storms, and we as an organization, we have to be ready. If we are really a volunteer force, we have to be ahead of the game, ensuring that we are ready and able to address these complex and unpredictable situations. So fellow Lions, by recognizing these distinctions, Lions Club leaders and Leo Club leaders can adapt their leadership styles to better serve their communities in an ever-changing world. Thank you very much, and I hope I didn't bore you and I kept you informed. Thank you, Lion District Governor.
Thank you very much, Alan. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So Lions and Leos, you've heard from our first Vice District Governor, and he's given us a complexity of leadership. And you know what? He's the next guy up. So in 6 months' time, I'll be changing roles and he'll be in charge. So Alan, the first question to you. As you sit there in the departure lounge getting ready to board your plane, you see some of the potholes that we have in the Caribbean, you see some of the potholes of membership. We have an aging membership. What is your leadership style in going forward that will pull this ship that's aged from these potholes?
That's a very good question, DG. I think I want to emphasize and I'm going back to the models that we used earlier. I think it's very important that as Lions Club leaders that we understand the need for the members to be in an environment where they're accepted. All right. I think in quite a few situations that I have been able to view, just visiting clubs and everything else. Yeah, it's typical. If you go to a meeting, you see the person sits at the same place every day. They have the little circle, and that's their circle, and there's 40 other lines sitting over there. So we got to create an environment in which, for retention purposes, that these lines can have more social interactions. So it's necessary to have the club retreats, the club informal meetings with fun and everything else. Going back again to, we have to be able to adapt to the change. For instance, you know, as the Antigua Lions Club, we've noticed that we've gotten very, very nice looking 55th anniversary t-shirts, and we have gone ahead and we have put it out there in social media in a form quite unheard of. And as a result of that, I think at the last meeting we were told that we had over 30 emails coming in asking for membership. So understanding these types of leadership models and what you need to do to adapt, I think going ahead, it should be, I will be preaching some of these things going ahead so that we are able to maintain and grow the organization. There was the talking jewels, and a fellow Lion brought it up. There's and from a business perspective, there's a fixed cost that you've got to cover. So you got to bring in your members. How are you going to bring in your members? All right, the more members you have, the more ability you're able to share that cost over the members. So as an organization, we have to grow. All right, because our costs are growing, so we have to grow. We have to bring more members to cover those costs. I'm not hearing you, Mr. Governor. You're muted.
My apologies. Thank you very much, Lion Allen. Leos and Lions, the floor is open to you to ask our first Vice District Governor any questions you have on leadership and leadership styles. So Lion Allen, I have been in the reins for the last 6 months, and I've been in my prep for the last 2 years. And one of the big questions that most clubs are asking is, we have members in, some are old and some are new. And somewhere among there, you get polarity, where some members go into cliques, some members will only turn up the parts to support one other person and not that person. Or you might have that internal conflict where this person doesn't like that person within a club, and hence they don't want to attend things, they don't want to do things. In your revolutionary model style, how, as we as the basic leaders of our cliques, of our cohorts of clubs, how do we change this? How do we interject and say to you guys, we have one purpose, we're serving. So let's not be about me, he or she, but rather about us as a life. Can you help us with this?
Mr. Governor, I think that was a rhetorical question, because you kind of answered this in a way. Yeah, you've got to say, this is why is it that you choose our organization? And it's simply that it gives us, or you as an individual, an avenue to help the less fortunate in our society. It's an avenue that requires pooled resources to make it effective. All right, we can't do, and you join because you cannot do it by yourself. All right, so you are here. We are pooling our resources, we are pooling our talents, we are pooling our skills, we are pooling our leadership skills. You know, so we are pooling our monetary resources so that we can effectively address the situations in there. And I think we've got to ensure that that message is reinforced over and over and over. Why are we here? We are here to serve. In the scheme of things, while serving, we must have fun doing it. If it's not fun, then it's not gonna be work. DG, you're muted again.
I'm still muted there. Yes, I said I haven't seen any hands come up as yet in the chat. And I know this is a burning topic, Lions and Leos. Please come out there and get some questions. So Lion Allen, you and I are the opening batsmen again. We're still at it batting.
So I know.
Yes. I am of the belief that though the Lions model that we currently use, or the Lions model that you and I came into, has now outlived its use. I think that mold has now aged to the fact where it has cracks, it's bursting from aging and from being abused with the years of flight. So I think there needs to be a new model for the younger people coming in. We say we want young persons to join our movement. We want young persons to come and bring new life, yet we make it difficult. We say to them, they need to take 3-4 months to get oriented to come into the club. We say to them, our meetings are usually 2 and 3 hours long. We say to them, repeat ourselves over and over and over. We say to them, we do it this way, not that way. You're now here with a new boy talk. It can't be done that way. And clearly they're not coming because of that. So how can we now change our leadership model that makes younger persons, A, want to come, be inclusive enough to be freely be able to share the changing engines, and fourth and thirdly, to take us into the new decade. Because as I said, I think our model is broken. You have any patches?
I think I can.
Your audio is a bit off. Can you go again?
It tends to do that from time to time. You can hear me better now?
Much better, thanks.
I think I covered that a little bit. It's where we define under the Bani leadership model, where brittle refers to systems or organization that can break, falter, or collapse under pressure of sudden changes. And the reason why that we still maintain the very rigid hierarchy and inflexible policies. All right. So, and I try to cover that as best as possible because in the context of Lionism, we're not at the stage where we are able to attract the younger Lions because of these things. So we got to go back and look at all of these things that we have. Yes, it's good to have, it's good to hold on the good things of the past, but you have to understand that at some time, change is inevitable. We are reading the younger members, and you're bringing in the younger members who are thinking younger, and they're moving up, and they are making. I'm seeing it right now. They are making the subtle changes to the hierarchy and the policies, so to accommodate the younger Lions. So I think it's happening, but it's you got to really be looking for it. But I think it's even happening at Lions Club International. They have realized their website was, and they're revamping it. So things are happening, but they're happening very subtle.
Thank you, Lion Allen. As you know, I like straight talk. You're a good politician. You clothe it nicely. But I think Lions now at the point where we want straight talk. We've perfumed the issues, we've powdered it for so much that the makeup is now cracking. So let's expose it now, wash our face off and cleanse the moment to really come back with a new definition. So let's be free to talk and call it what it is. A lot of clubs have platinum blondes and silver hair giants who refuse to let the young people express themselves in a way. As I've said to other persons in clubs before, let the young people come in. They have to fall. And sometimes when they don't listen, let them fall, but be there to support them to move forward, because that's just how life is. As a parent, you care for your child, you protect them and so on, but they still go out and get tangled up in something. And then you have to hold their hand, get them through that moment, but they learn from that moment. So I think this is a change in time. The engine of change is here in Lionism. We now know what our faults are. So I think the pretense now needs to stop, and we open up the door to say, how can we change, bring the agents of change in, let the youth lead us. And during my tenure so far, I am extremely proud of our Leos. Our Leos are way above us in membership. We have more Leo clubs being formed. We have far more Leo new members coming in. My problem here, my challenge to my fellow Lions and Lions clubs are, we have to support our Leos. It makes no sense chartering new Leo clubs and then not support them. Make sure the Leo advisors are around, and make sure you have a Leo panel, just not one Leo advisor leading the group, but have multiple people. So there's an area for disagreement with the Leo advisor, but still be respectful. We need to put things in place where the Leos are free to express themselves, but above all, recognize the Leos as young individuals and young entrepreneurs who are now making the way forward. They're not little children. Yes, our alpha clubs may be kids or young, soon to be young adults, but our Omega Lions must be respected and must be elevated to the post where they are. Because once we begin that respect and that respect transition, it opens up the road for growth, but more so it's the gentle handshake of leadership handoff. Any comments?
I think Lion Ray John had his hand up, so he may weigh into this, and I'd ask any other Lions Leos to weigh in on the discussion. Your contribution is valuable.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, Lion Ray John.
We're at a very difficult stage here, because you set the stage not necessarily for argument, but you set the stage for presentation of what I would refer to. And I have to be very careful with the audience, because I recognize we have a very big audience indeed. At 134 participants, we're going to have people at the top of the ladder and people at the bottom of the ladder. And so we need to be able to embrace everything. My comment is simple. This over the years, we have failed. We, the senior Lions, have failed. And I say we have failed because this is nothing new. It's nothing new because men were in the Lions Club and they had a difficulty with women coming into the Lions Club. And then the lionesses and so forth, and we know the story that has evolved with women. Now women are actually taking over in terms of the leadership. And so young people, we need to open another door for young people to come in, for young people to do the same thing. And this has gone on over years. Now, what has happened over the years from where I sit, and I was reading a report yesterday from Dominica, from Grenada, where the Dominica Lions Club, I think, is doing exceptionally well under the circumstances, and I don't think we appreciate the circumstances under which the Dominica Leo Club is forging our way forward. And until the president of the Dominica Club come to this sort of forum and give an idea of some of the challenges that they have faced in order to get them, and now they need the support, and we're not there to give them that support. With the senior Lions and the cliques and things that we're talking about, all the things in management about pivot and KPIs and all those kind of fancy words, they don't understand half of them because they have not lived them, right? And you have to be able to live leadership in order to show leadership. You can't pivot if you're the fire chief. All those years of fighting fires had to have taught you something. We have not done that. And I blame us for it. And I still think it is not too late because we are at a crisis now. The UN report from last 2 weeks about the young people in the Caribbean, we're still number 98. We too far down to get them to separate us from Latin America and the Caribbean so that our youth can have a little bit more appreciation of what it is to understand KPIs and level LOEs, level of effectiveness. And these kinds of things have now been added to what you presented to the Lion Vice District Governor. So I want us to think about it a little more. Let's pull our heads together in terms of us being mentors and what it is we're offering and how we can offer it in the way that is acceptable to us and that we're able to deliver it to them so that they can embrace it to pivot to do what we want them to do. That's my
Thank you. Thank you so very much, Lanre. Wonderful comments. We're running short of time, so let's get some of the other lines in. Lanre, you've made some wonderful points and we will circle back to you. I just want a few more comments and then Line Allen can conclude. Line Adora Warner.
Good day. Very good presentation, VP. What I would say though is I'll bring it down to the grassroots where I believe that it's not good enough to say you've done a good job, but we have failed, as Lion Ray said most eloquently. You cannot encourage somebody to excel and at the same time, you are the one with your foot on the chest. I've experienced it many times. You did a good job, but what does that mean? We have to encourage each other to excel at what we do because we are getting older. I am getting older. I will not always be able to work as hard. I would like the younger ones to come on board. So of course, I would say, young people, you have done an excellent job and leave it there. But us as Lions and the older Lions, let us change the narrative. Let us change the dial from you have done well and leave it there instead of saying but, because it's not a nice feeling to hear you've done a good job when you know you put in 100 man hours into it, 1,000 man hours into it, and then you've been pushed down. That's just my 2 cents. Line Allen, I'm not hearing what you're saying.
I was saying that it goes back to empathy and mindfulness. As a leader, we have to have those qualities. And District Governor, you're muted again.
My apologies. I'm asking Leoline Nichelle to take the floor, our past Leo District President.
Thank you, Lion District Governor Dr. Carlisle, and fellow Lions and Leos in the audience. I just want to add sentiments that regards to attracting younger members. Is to add to emphasize what Lion Allen has stated is about having fun and also recognizing maybe the projects are not catering to the changes that our community may need. Maybe the projects that have been done worked 20 years ago, but as a club, you need to ask yourself, is it a project that can cater to the needs now? Also, are there activities that are catering in attracting younger minds? Because oftentimes younger members may have ideas, but then again, may not post the ideas due to lack of support of the idea, or because it's something different, may not want to try and attempt that project. And it needs to be, as everyone has said, to be open-minded to that change. And we all have to ask ourselves, are we willing to be open-minded to that change? Are we willing to be open-minded to maybe having more fun nights, okay, yes, we have meetings, but can we incorporate after a successful project, have those fun sessions where it's not stressful all the time. It's not something that has added pressure, but recognizing that everyone is coming together to be that unique puzzle piece to what makes the club a club, and recognizing that everyone has a purpose in doing so. I think oftentimes members feel depleted in what's the sense of me putting my best effort when I'm going to be overlooked. And that is something that we all need to ask ourselves. How can we work together as a team and not feel like we're inadequate? We do all have a say in making the change, but how can we move forward and not put so much barriers that indeed the disinterest does go, and then you lose that valuable member, and then we repeat the cycle again. Thank you.
Very much, Leo and Michelle. Now, Alan, I think that segues really nicely into the question asked by Lan Ernie from Anguilla. In 2014, we've been installing young lions, and they're the ones leaving the Anguillan Lions. We have been welcoming to them, giving them positions, etc. They think differently, and yet is the older one still going strong? So that question can be interpreted two ways. One, we did everything for the young people. They came, they left, the older ones are still holding. Or it can be read as, we have done everything, we've invited them, but we haven't changed in ourselves, and yet when they come, they go. So I think that segues all at you. Can you just tidy it up? Because there's lots of alertness, a lot of anxiety in there, and still the balance is not yet had. So let us hear you. You're muted, Len Allen. We're still not hearing you. I think the question is so hot on line. Alan said he's lost audio.
All right, give me 2 seconds. Yeah.
You're back on. You're back on.
Okay. I want to go back again to, because the leadership implication model, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, really speaks to that question, right? Whilst the club may have said we've done everything, I think they need to understand, because Maslow's focuses on the individual development within the organization, within the Lions Club, right? So as the leader, as the president or future presidents, vice presidents, board of directors, have we fulfilled all the lower level needs of these Lions? Okay. Have we, once we've done that, now we look and say, are they now motivated to pursue, you know, the different opportunities within the club, right? So we have to use the tools that I put out on this presentation as leaders, so that, yes, ask the right questions using the models that are put out here. Have we done everything? Have we made them in the club? Have they integrated socially that they now they feel at home, they feel like a family? You know, you won't leave if you feel like a family. All right, Mr. Governor. All right, so whilst they may have said, yes, we've done everything, I think they need to go back and review. And another tool for that, have they done an exit interview with the Lion that is leaving, so that you're better able to collect the data, understand it, and make the change.
Wonderful question there, or comment, Alan. That is so important. That exit questionnaire, that exit interview, because whereas a member might say, I'm no longer want to be part of you, I think that tea or lunch and have a meeting with that person to find out where have we failed you, and phrase it that way, huh? Because it might not be that we actually failed them, but it empowers them then to open up to us. And I think once we can get some insight there, we can make our leadership styles better, and we can grow the pride a bit more. Lion Isaac McKellar, we recognize you.
Thank you, Lion District Governor. First of all, let me commend you on running a very interesting and very informative session here. I have two things that I think that, in my humble opinion, are perhaps the most needy and impacting procedures, let's call it procedures, or areas that we are lacking in. The first thing is that we need to apply emotional intelligence to our leadership styles. Lions clubs and other charity organizations, because of the peculiarity of the lack of material incentive, require that we find other methods to incentivize members. And to be able to do that, we need to put ourselves in the position of the people and the members, leaders and Lions, who we are leading, and with all the incentives and the rewards and so on, but we need to put ourselves in their position so that we understand what makes them tick, and we can find methods of encouraging them, because we know that in private sector, the money is the thing that drives their motivations. But we have to find other methods, and emotional intelligence is a very, very important tool. The other item that I would like to stress on is that, and I have found this to be extremely successful, we need to take a family approach to our clubs. The most successful leader that I have ever met in Lionism is somebody who took a personal interest in every member of his club. And the people responded unbelievably, because we all need to belong. Youngsters and the oldsters, we need to belong. We're going to have arguments in families. We're going to have differences between older folks and younger folks. But think of it, in a family, those arguments are expected. But once you identify yourself as being a part of a family, being embraced and recognized, and the little things that are very important. We recently had floods in Jamaica, and you'd be surprised to know the amount of persons who took a personal interest in each and every Lions member in our clubs to find out were they all right and so on. It makes a difference to be recognized and to be thought of as being a part of a group of people who really have your interests at heart. I think those two things are very, very important, and somehow I'm not too sure that we are practicing and taking advantage of those two things that seem to work very well. Those are my comments. Thank you, Lion District Governor.
Thank you very much, Lion Isaac. you probably stole your way into my audit last night. We had the exact same conversation. So I'm glad to hear that I'm not on the wrong path. I think John raised some really interesting questions in his comments earlier, and that can't be ignored. We really need to recognize that perhaps we're on the wrong road, and how we need to adjust to get back on the right road, and how we go about doing that. I think our first line district governor has really given some models to look at, some food for thought. First District Governor Lion Allen, I think Lion Ray has taken his hand down. So I'll let you have the final word to conclude, and then we'll wrap up a wonderful, successful session on our second cabinet meeting workshops. Lion Allen?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Governor. And I'd like to thank also the Lions who stayed on, and at 134, I hope that I was able to impart a little bit of thought in your leadership styles going forward. And remember, just keep a little list of things that on the different models that are there, especially on the last slide, and use some of those in your approach in leading your clubs. As Lion Izette highlighted, that love and belonging that's in Maslow's is probably the key thing in keeping the glue and keeping your clubs together and to grow stronger. So it's right out the rule book, love and belonging. The others dictate how you go about dealing with the crises within your communities and larger foot. But in your club, probably Maslow's is what you got to be looking at to ensure that your membership needs are satisfied, which is the big burning problem in our organization. Thank you very much, Mr. Governor. And
Thank you very much, Alan. Denise Bente, I know you sat there with us, so we thank you so very much. As past council chair, I'm sure you had some fire in your leadership as well in these areas. You want to give us a 1 minute assertion, or you've had enough for the evening? We have Miss Lion Denise. So Lions, my fellow Leos, I think we've had a good session. I think most persons will ask, can we get a copy of these presentations? I will endeavor to ask the presenters to make them a presentation style, and we can put them on the website, and you can download them at your pleasure. I really want to thank the two presenters. I think the discussion was timely, the subject content was needed, and I think going forward, we need to have very frank conversations in our district about these hot and current topics. We have one more surprise for you in the third cabinet. I'm sure you'll look forward to having that. So don't go away. Workshop next time will even be more hot than this one. So once again, my presenters, I thank you so very much. I thank you, the participants. We got up to 135 max, I saw. So I want to thank you all for staying with us. I hope we can translate this energy now through to our cabinet meeting. And I hope to see at least 200 of you tomorrow. So have a wonderful Lionstic evening. Enjoy whatever you do, and may God guide you forever. Thank you very much. Bye now.
Thank you very much, guys.